Ladies and gentlemen, don't let your learning stop at knowledge. Let it evolve into action. These aren't just poetic lines. They are a declaration, a wake-up call, a sharp internal alarm meant to rouse those coasting through life unaware of their untapped potential. We live in a time when information isn't locked away in libraries. It's delivered instantly through search engines and scrolling feeds. And yet, in an era overflowing with insights, action remains scarce. Most people don't need another webinar. They don't need another podcast episode. They don't need another motivational quote on their desktop background. What they truly need is ignition. They need forward motion. They need to decide. Learning without action is deceptive. It gives a false sense of progress. It feels useful, even enlightening, but it's not true growth. It's procrastination wearing the mask of productivity. The real threat today isn't ignorance. It's the illusion of improvement. Without results to show, there is no transformation. And let's be clear, people will measure you by your outcomes. It doesn't matter how many books you've consumed. If your daily life still looks barren, if you remain stuck in the same routines, no one is applauding how inspired you feel. You might believe the world rewards potential. It doesn't. It rewards outcomes, not theories, not ideas scribbled in notebooks, only execution. Learning may light the match, but it's action that fuels the fire. And without that fire, the spark fades into darkness. So why do most people fail to act? It's not due to ignorance. It's because they're hesitating for approval, waiting for the right moment, for absolute certainty. But in that waiting, doubt takes over. Inaction kills dreams and robs potential. You must reject that mindset. Don't ask life to hand you the perfect setting. Create it yourself. Stop saying, once I know more, then I'll start, and start saying, I will grow by doing. The most valuable lessons are learned in real-world trials, not from lectures or textbooks, but in the field, where your hands are bruised, your vision blurred with sweat, your voice shaken by fear, and your heart steady with courage. That is where learning becomes transformation, because what you do teaches more than what you hear. Knowledge isn't power on its own. It becomes power when applied. Ideas mean little without action. Insight without follow-through is wasted. Discipline builds the bridge, hunger fuels the engine, and action slices through all excuses like a blade. Here's the truth. One that will set you apart from the 95% who remain spectators all their lives. You don't need more hours. You don't need more resources. You don't need more qualifications. What you really need is more courage. Courage to risk looking foolish. Courage to fail. Courage to be unskilled before you're skilled and skilled before you're great. The truth is, most people aren't perfectionists because they strive for excellence. They're perfectionists because they're afraid. Afraid to start. Afraid to be seen learning. Afraid that someone might notice they're figuring it out as they go. But hear this clearly. Every expert was once a beginner. Every master started out messy. Even the greatest still feel fear. The world doesn't reward what you know, it rewards what you create, what you build, finish, and contribute. You can read about swimming for years and still sink the moment you're thrown in the water. So jump. Yes, jump. That thing you've been overthinking for months, begin. That dusty idea in your notebook, bring it to life. That goal that terrifies you, chase it, because you'll learn more in 1 hour of uncomfortable action than in 100 hours of passive observation. That's why the wealthiest person isn't always the smartest, and the most fulfilled isn't always the most educated. Why? Because action levels the playing field. It turns beginners into professionals and dreamers into doers. Action transforms ideas into impact. But to act, truly act, you must break your dependence on inspiration. Inspiration feels good, but it doesn't last. It's the spark, not the fuel. If you wait to feel inspired, you'll wait forever. Champions don't wait, they move. They create the feeling through action. So move, even if it's clumsy, even if it's small, even if it's not perfect. Because small steps build momentum, and momentum is more powerful than motivation. Start where you are, use what you have. Do what you can. That's enough. Not later, not next week, not once everything's perfect, now. Because life rewards action, not those who study the path, but those who walk it. You won't think your way into a better life, you'll move your way there. One decision, one step, one leap of faith. And here's the twist. When you begin to act, your learning accelerates. Real mastery comes through experience. Growth comes from feedback. You'll start seeing what books never mention. You'll uncover strengths you never realized. You'll meet a version of yourself you've never known, the version that shows up and does. That's the real education. Not endless consumption, but courageous creation. There's a reason many know everything about wealth yet remain broke. There's a reason others understand fitness but stay unhealthy. It's not what they know, it's what they do. The most successful people don't just gather information, they move fast, take risks, and adapt quickly. So trade theories for action, trade hesitation for effort, trade ideas for execution. This is your life, not a classroom. The clock is ticking, and every minute you wait is a minute you'll never get back. Because graveyards are full of minds who never used their gifts, full of creators who never created, and dreamers who never took the first step. Don't become one of them. Respect learning, but act relentlessly. Don't collect facts, build results. Because in the end, no one will ask how much you knew. They'll ask, what did you build? Who did you become? What did you do? And if your answer is bold, if it's full, if it's alive, then your learning has served its purpose. So when the dust settles, your hands callous from the work and your voice strained from shouting through resistance, you'll understand. It was never about how much you knew. It was always about how far you were willing to go with what little you had. Because success doesn't belong to the one with the highest IQ, it belongs to the one with the strongest resolve. It's not the person with the most credentials who leads, but the one with the most scars. Life doesn't yield to the well-informed, it yields to the relentless. Stop collecting knowledge like trophies you haven't earned. Every insight should become a directive, not a comfort. Let every lesson stir something in you. Let it challenge you. Let it demand something from you. If it doesn't push you to move, it isn't wisdom, it's decoration. Beautiful, perhaps, but ultimately useless. Knowledge without action is vanity. The world shifts because of those who act, not those who merely understand. It's the writer who writes that makes the difference, not the one who only reads about storytelling. It's the leader who leads, not the one who studies leadership theory. It's the builder who lays the foundation, not the one memorizing blueprints. So the question is no longer, what do I know, but what am I doing with what I know? If you understand sales, are you selling? If you know how to create, are you creating? If you know how to change, are you changing? If not, then your knowledge has become a cage, because once you know but fail to act, you become frozen by your own potential. That is the silent tragedy of our time. We're informed about everything, but excellent at almost nothing. And you feel it deep down, don't you? That tension, that internal conflict. One part of you is full of dreams and ideas waiting to be unleashed. The other part, the fearful part, whispers, not yet. Just a little more time, a little more learning. But that voice, it's lying. It's not wisdom. It's comfort in disguise. It's the quiet murmur of safety, pretending to be strategy. And you must silence it, not gently, but completely, because your future depends on it. Action is the antidote to fear. Movement kills doubt. Commitment cures hesitation. You don't need more prep. You need more presence. Be present in your own life. Be the person who says, today, I won't just learn, I'll do. While others wait for the perfect moment, the doers build momentum. While thinkers debate the map, the doers make the road. While spectators admire greatness, the doers become it. And yes, it will hurt. There will be failure. But understand this, failure that comes from action brings wisdom. Failure from inaction brings regret. You'll never regret the step you took, only the one you didn't. You want to feel truly alive? Then move, send the message, make the call, build the product, launch the idea, speak the words, take the risk. Do something today your future self will look back on and say thank you. Because one day, and that day is closer than you think, the moment will be gone. The door will close. And all that will remain are two things, what you built and what you left undone. You are not here to be a container for information. You are here to use it. So sharpen your mind, not just to understand, but to act. Turn your knowledge into motion. Turn learning, into life. You don't need another course. You don't need another mentor. You need a mirror. You need to look yourself in the eye and say, I am the one. Not someday, not later, now. Because once you stop waiting and start moving, everything shifts. The world responds. Doors open. What was invisible becomes clear. Life meets you at the level of your action, not your intentions. Every day you delay, you pay. You pay in self-respect, in lost momentum, and in the quiet heartbreak of unlived potential. But every day you act, you rise. You rise in strength, in clarity, and in your ability to shape reality with your will. Learning was never meant to be a shelter. It was meant to be a weapon, one that is sharpened through use and tested in the battlefields of life. When wielded with conviction, it becomes unstoppable. So stop romanticizing theory, stop worshiping knowledge, start honoring discipline, start honoring movement, start honoring follow-through. These are the true gods of success, not intelligence, not pedigree, but grit, courage, and consistency. The one who keeps moving imperfectly will always outpace the genius who waits for perfection. Because progress is not about precision, it is a dance with imperfection. You don't win by waiting for the perfect move, you win by moving, adjusting, and moving again. If you're tired of being stuck, don't look for more answers. Ask a better question. What can I do today? Because today is the only day that exists. Now is the only time with power. And you are the only one who can shift the direction of your life. So move it. Not tomorrow, not later, not when you feel ready, now. Readiness is a myth. No one is ever truly ready. Not for greatness, not for transformation. Readiness is not the starting point, it's the outcome. It is forged in the fire of doing. It is born through the friction of showing up, failing forward, and staying true to your word long after the excitement fades. You don't wait for the storm to pass. You become the storm. You don't wait for the wind. You set the sail. And when you take real, meaningful action, something ancient and powerful awakens inside you. Something buried under fear, doubt, comfort, and overthinking. You awaken the maker, the builder, the beast, the part of you that doesn't just know, it becomes. Because knowledge alone is not power. Knowledge simply shows you what's possible. And with every step forward, the distance between who you are and who you could be begins to disappear. This is not about hustle. This is not about burnout. This is about honoring the gift of awareness. It's about proving to the universe that you are worthy of the insight you've been given by turning it into something real, into results, into impact. You've learned, you've trained, you've visualized, you've filled journals, you've studied the greats from Carnegie to Musk. But now the only question that matters is this: what will you do with it? Will you let your wisdom rot on the shelf of hesitation, or will you take the hammer of action and strike while the metal of the moment is still hot? Because time doesn't wait. The clock doesn't care, and the calendar won't pause. Every second you hesitate, the life you want slips further away. Every time you flinch, the door begins to close. One day, when the silence settles in and the dust clears, you'll look back and you'll either be proud of what you built or haunted by what you didn't. Don't let your life become a museum of missed chances. Don't let your mind become a warehouse of unshipped dreams. Don't let your learning become your leash. Unleash it, use it, wield it. Turn the page into a plan. Turn theory into tactics. Turn insight into impact. Because knowledge is not the destination. Action is the revolution. Every lesson you've ever learned has one job: to make you move. And if it's not making you move, then it's not finished. And if you're not moving, then neither are you. So stop searching for more to consume and start living in service of what you were meant to create. Become the one who took the wisdom and built something eternal. The one who acted even when it was hard, even when it was risky, even when no one clapped. Because history is not written by the informed, it is written by the engaged. The battlefield of life is not won by those who know all the strategies, it is won by those who enter the fight, sword drawn, feet planted, heart ready. So stand up today, right now, because the moment you begin, the universe begins too. The moment you move, energy shifts, doors open, people appear, opportunities flood in. Not to the thinker, not to the reader, not to the planner, but to the mover. You've heard enough. You've known enough. Now it's time to live like it. Now it's time to do. And when you do, when you finally act, something irreversible happens. The internal shift becomes external reality. The invisible becomes flesh, the intangible becomes real, and the world begins to reflect the power you always had, but never used. That's the truth they don't teach in school. The bridge between dreams and results is built plank by plank with action, not desire, not discussion, not dreaming. Because dreams without discipline become ghosts, hauntings of what could have been. But discipline, daily, focused, unglamorous discipline is what turns sparks into infernos. It's what transforms wishful thinking into undeniable legacy. So wake up from the seminar coma, get off the inspiration treadmill, unplug from the addiction to more information, and return to the temple of the body in motion. Because nothing grows from thinking alone. The seed must hit soil, the hand must strike hammer, the word must become deed. Every hero you admire, they were not made by what they knew, they were forged by what they did with what they knew. Read that again. Let it break something open in you. You don't need a new path, you need new priorities. Most people aren't suffering from a lack of opportunity, they're suffering from a lack of urgency. The fire doesn't start when you feel like it, it starts when you move like your life depends on it. Because it does. Your potential is not a trophy, it is a debt you owe to the world. And you repay that debt with action, daily, relentlessly, with love, with faith, with force. And don't you dare say it's too late. Don't you dare say you've missed your chance. As long as you're breathing, there is breath in your destiny. As long as you have strength to stand, there is ground for you to take. As long as you have a voice, there is truth for you to speak. And as long as you remember why you began, there is power for you to continue. But you must stop hiding behind learning. Stop pretending that knowledge is safety. It's not. Knowledge is responsibility. Knowledge demands that you become more, not just know more, because the more you know, the more you owe. And if you know what to do but still don't do it, that is not wisdom. That is betrayal of yourself, of your future, of the ones watching you, praying for someone to go first. Because here's the other secret. Someone needs you to move. Your action doesn't just change your life, it shifts others too. There's someone right now in the shadows of your orbit, watching you, waiting for a sign, looking for proof that it's possible. And your motion could set them free. Your courage could crack the sky open for them. Don't rob them of that. Be the proof, be the light, be the walking, breathing evidence that it can be done. Not because you read about it, not because you posted a quote, not because you watched a documentary, but because you did it. Because action is the highest form of faith. When you act, you're declaring something to the world. I believe in this dream. I believe in myself. I believe that even if I fall, I will rise again. And what happens when you keep rising? You become undeniable. You become unshakable. You become someone that no amount of fear, no pile of excuses, no wall of doubt can stop. That's not fantasy. That's not motivation. That's what happens when your learning becomes action. That's what happens when your knowledge finds a spine. That's what happens when you stop saying, I know, and start saying, now I build. So build. Build before you're ready. Build before it's perfect. Build like your future depends on it, because it does. One brick at a time, one post, one sale, one step, one hard conversation, one more rep, one more cold call, one more line written, recorded, shipped, and shown. Stack those bricks, no matter how small, no matter how slow, because the day you stop stacking is the day your legacy dies in blueprint form. But the day you commit, truly commit to action, the world begins to rearrange around your fire. So when the world whispers, wait, you roar back, watch me. When fear says, what if you fail? You answer, then I will fail forward. And when doubt shouts, you're not ready, you move anyway. Because courage has never required certainty. This is your awakening. This is the moment you realize that action is not the enemy of learning, it is its final exam. And every day life hands you that test. not on paper, not in theory, but in real time, in your decisions, your habits, your willingness to step beyond what you understand and into what you embody. You are not here to collect information. You are here to change atmospheres, to walk into a room and raise its standard, to start something that didn't exist before you touched it, to plant seeds in barren soil and trust they'll rise because you planted them. But you cannot sow if your hands are always full of books. You cannot lead if your feet never move. You cannot win the battle if your sword never leaves its sheath. This is not about rushing blindly into action. This is about aligned, intentional, daily, deliberate execution. The kind of action tied to a cause higher than ego and deeper than applause. The kind of action that lives in purpose, breathes in vision, and bleeds in impact. If your learning doesn't lead to purpose, it was just noise. If your knowledge doesn't lead to contribution, it was just ego. If your preparation doesn't lead to transformation, it was just delay. But when learning meets movement, mountains shift. That's when your voice changes. It deepens because you're no longer speaking from theory. You're speaking from the trenches, from sweat, from results. And no one can argue with results. They might question your journey. They might mock your methods, but they cannot deny the fruit. So if you want to silence the critics, build. If you want to quiet the doubt, if you want to command the room, deliver. This is the era of execution. No one's coming to crown the most educated. They're coming to follow the most effective. And effectiveness belongs to the implementers. Those who rise early, not to scroll, but to create. Those who stay up late, not to fantasize, but to finish. Those who spend their weekends not numbing themselves, but nurturing what matters. You can consume for the next 10 years and still be stuck, or you can produce for 10 months and change your life. Because life does not respond to your input. Life responds to your output. The universe echoes your effort, not your dreams. It mirrors back your moves, not your mantras. So ask yourself this: what are you making? What are you shipping? What are you building with all that you've learned? Because that's what the world is waiting to see. What are you executing on, even when it's boring, hard, or thankless? Because that is where your character is built. In the dark room, in the lab, in the silence, where no one claps, where no one sees. And still, you do the work. You show up. You push through. You deliver. Not because of the spotlight, but because your standard isn't set by applause, it's set by alignment. And when your action aligns with your awareness, you don't just grow, you ascend. You don't just make progress, you lead a revolution. First inside yourself and then outward into every space, every room, every life you touch. That's what this world needs now more than ever. Not more thinkers, not more critics, not more analysts. The world needs builders, doers, warriors of execution, people so committed to translating learning into living that the world cannot ignore their results. So rise as one of the few, the rare, the radical, the kind of person who lives by this law. If I learn it, I live it. If I know it, I do it. If I see it, I build it. Not tomorrow, not later, now. Because now is all you've ever had. Not someday, not one day, now. Now is the only soil where dreams can root. Now is the only clock that ticks in real time. Now is the only place where learning becomes living. And the ones who truly understand this, not just in the mind, but in spirit, are the ones who rise above the noise. You've seen them, the ones who don't speak much, but whose results echo louder than any slogan. The ones who don't try to convince you because their consistency proves them. The ones who move quietly, but every step reshapes the terrain around them. Were they smarter, luckier, more connected? No, they just moved. While others hesitated, they executed. While others planned, they planted. While others dreamed, they delivered. They didn't let learning become a spiritual entertainment system. They let it become fuel, purpose, motion. And that is your calling, to become one of them, to stop swimming in knowledge and start sailing with it, to stop observing and start orchestrating. Let your life be a demonstration, not a discussion. Let your discipline speak louder than your declaration. Let your results become your reputation. Because when you commit to action, life begins to treat you differently. The air shifts, the people around you evolve. You attract the serious, the bold, the focused. Because action is magnetic. Movement pulls movement. Fire finds fire. And that's why you must protect your momentum at all costs. It's more valuable than talent, more rare than intelligence, more powerful than motivation. Don't ask, how do I feel? Ask, what must I do? Because feelings will lie, but habits will lead. You think success comes from knowing? No, it comes from doing, especially when you don't feel like knowing anymore. It comes from pushing through the fog of fatigue, the noise of doubt, and the endless buffet of excuses. And let's be honest, those excuses, they're seductive. I just need more time. I need a better plan. I'll start when I feel ready. I don't want to fail. But let me tell you this. The greatest failure isn't falling. It's staying still. The greatest danger isn't defeat. It's delay. The real death isn't the death of the body. It's the death of motion. So kill the excuse, kill the delay, kill the need for perfect conditions. Because if you can master the art of acting in imperfect conditions, you become unstoppable. Life was never meant to be tidy. Mastery is messy. Excellence is earned, not in ease, but through sweat, through trial, through showing up again and again long after the mood has left the building. You're not here to tiptoe through theory. You are here to break ground, to put your fingerprints on this world, to leave behind a trail of action so undeniable, so powerful, it speaks for you long after you're gone. This is not just about success. This is about legacy. And legacy is not built in libraries. It's built in the arena. It's built in lives touched, in movements sparked, in change created. Because one person refused to stop at learning and decided to live it. Let that be you. Let your story become a masterclass in momentum. Let your every step declare, I refuse to die with this potential inside me. I refuse to be the one who almost did. I refuse to trade a life of purpose for a life of passive consumption. No more reading without risking. No more studying without stepping. No more preparing without producing. It's time to shift from consumer to creator, from student to soldier, from dreamer to doer. Because when you move, really move, you awaken something ancient, something divine, something unstoppable. And you finally understand the point of learning was never just to know. The point was to build a life that shows it. So lean in, because we're not done. You see, once action becomes your native language, everything changes. The fog begins to lift, the confusion starts to clear, and the universe, once indifferent, begins to whisper, yes, that's it. Keep going. What once felt like resistance begins to feel like fuel, because discipline is addictive. Progress is intoxicating. When you begin to act, your body remembers what it truly means to be alive. Not alive in theory, not alive in emotion, but alive in momentum, alive in the sacred rhythm of cause and effect, of idea and impact, of breath and breakthrough. The difference between those who rise and those who remain isn't how much they know, it's how often they move. The doers don't wait to feel worthy. They don't seek permission. They validate themselves through the doing, through the sweat, through showing up when no one is watching. They're not obsessed with being seen. They are obsessed with becoming undeniable. And that must become your obsession too. Not fame, not likes, not admiration, but excellence. And excellence is only born through one thing, repetition. The muscle is built through repetition. The craft is sharpened through repetition. The results compound through repetition. So the question is no longer, what do I want? The real question is, what am I willing to repeat no matter how I feel? Because it's not what you occasionally do that transforms you. It's what you relentlessly repeat. One phone call, one rep, one journal entry, one uncomfortable conversation, 1 hour of deep work, one promise kept. Stack those wins. Let your consistency roar louder than your goals. Because in a world addicted to instant gratification, the rarest trait is endurance. Everyone's looking for shortcuts, hacks, and secret keys. But here's the truth. The most successful people aren't faster, they're simply more consistent. They don't sprint, burn out, and disappear. They show up again and again and again. When it's boring, when it's hard, when no one's clapping. They keep doing what they said they'd do long after the mood they said it in is gone. That is what separates legends from dreamers. Because a dreamer is high on learning, low on doing. High on starting, low on finishing. They love the vision board, but fear the execution. But the builder, the implementer, the leader, they make motion non-negotiable. They treat their craft like a calling. They let their actions introduce them. And because of that, the world makes room for them. The world trusts them. The world follows them. And here is the most powerful truth of all. The world doesn't need more knowledge. It needs more leaders. Leadership begins with one thing: follow through. Follow through on your word. Follow through on your goals. Follow through on your calling. Because every time you follow through, you become someone worth following, not just in business, not just in relationships, but in life. So today, yes, today, commit to doing the thing you've been postponing. Not reading about it, not researching it, doing it. Today, when you take the first step, or the next step, or the hard step, send the message, make the call, hit publish, hit record, take the meeting, pitch the client, launch the page, wake up earlier, turn off the distractions, say no, say yes, say it's time, because the clock is not waiting, and neither is the life you were born to build. So let's press forward with fire, with force, with finality, because this is the hour where talk ends and truth begins. This is the moment where the old self burns, where the doubter inside you takes their last breath, where the dreamer gives way to the doer, and you finally become who you were meant to be. You will not be remembered for what you meant to do. You will be remembered for what you moved to do. You won't be respected for your plans. You will be respected for your proof. So bring proof. Let your life be evidence. Let your routine be the sermon. Let your habits preach louder than your promises ever could. Because here's the secret the quiet great ones know. Action is identity, not intent, not inspiration, not education, action. You are what you repeatedly do. You are what you finish. You are what you fight for when motivation is gone. Every time you move with integrity, with focus, with courage, you don't just change your results, you change your nature. You rewire the very code of who you are. So stop asking, who am I to do this? Start asking, who do I become by doing this? Because the identity you long for, the confident one, the bold one, the fulfilled one, isn't waiting at the end of your learning. You're waiting at the end of your action. You don't become brave by thinking brave thoughts. You become brave by doing brave things. You don't become disciplined by reading about habits. You become disciplined by honoring your commitments when it's hard. You don't become wealthy by studying money. You become wealthy by moving money, by risking, building, selling, shipping, scaling. You don't become great by studying. You become great by doing what great people do. And great people act. They don't wait for the world to crown them. They crown themselves with consistency. They coronate their own lives through execution. They understand that success is not given, it is compounded. One action, then another, stacked, repeated, built into a wall of fire that no excuse, no fear, no voice of doubt can penetrate. You've seen the other way. You've tasted the false comfort of waiting. You know what it's like to scroll through inspiration while your goals collect dust. You know what it feels like to be full of potential and empty of results. So don't go back. Burn the ship, delete the back door, close the maybe, kill the what if, and replace it all with one sacred vow. I will let my learning lead to action, or I will let it go. Because the longer you hold knowledge hostage without motion, the more it owns you. The more it turns into guilt, into pressure, into shame. You were not meant to be a warehouse of ideas. You were meant to be a furnace of impact. So light the match. Act like your life depends on it, because it does. This is your revolution. Not loud, not flashy, but real. Relentless, ruthless. This is the moment your future starts to applaud you, not for what you know, not for what you plan, but for what you finally do. And when it's all said and done, when your body's tired, your legacy written, your name etched in the results you created, let them say that was someone who acted. That was someone who finished. That was someone who refused to let their learning stay silent. They let it speak, not in theory, but in motion. Let that be you.